Hillary Clinton supporters tried desperately to sway members of the often misunderstood Electoral College in 2016, publicly urging them to abandon any obligation to vote for Donald Trump. And tonight, a brand new federal court ruling could be setting up a scenario in which a handful of people you've never heard of go rogue and wind up picking your future presidents.
It took 9 justices to ultimately decide the winner of the 2000 election after Florida's ballots came under meticulous scrutiny. But these 538 members of the Electoral College actually choose the president, meeting in state houses across the country and almost always rubber stamping the winner of the popular votes, but not always.
The most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen.
More people chose Hillary Clinton nationwide in 2016, but Donald Trump won the most electoral votes. But there's long been disagreement over whether electors should have any discretion after the fact to go against the wishes of voters. A federal appeals court this week said Colorado was wrong to nullify the ballot of a so-called faithless elector who refused to endorse Clinton even though she won the most votes in that swing state.
In 48 states in the District of Columbia, you win one more vote than your opponent and you get all the electoral votes. So there's a huge incentive to try to just tip past the second place finisher in each state and in the more closely divided states.
With a divided electorate, Colorado is one of 29 states requiring its electors to cast their ballots for the person getting the most votes. But in 2016, renegade electors pledged votes for Colin Powell and John Kasich, nascent efforts to derail Trump's road to the presidency. While driving in the remote heartland, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez this week called the Electoral College racial injustice and a scam.
We're coming to you live from the Electoral College. Many votes here, as you can see.
Some progressives say the Electoral College's inherent structure favors rural, conservative majority states like South Dakota that are guaranteed a proportionally higher number of electors than larger, more diverse states like California. The fear among members of both major parties, another 2000 election. So razor thin a single elector or a small organized bloc in just one state could decide the presidency.
Well, changing the Electoral College system right now would require a constitutional amendment. There's also a possibility that this Colorado case could wind up at the Supreme Court just in time for 2020. Well, let's turn to National Security Attorney Bradley Moss and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo to talk about it. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Good evening, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
Okay, so Lawrence Lessig, a Harvard law professor, says this: we know the Electoral College contests are going to be closer in the future than they have been in the past. And as they get closer and closer, even a small number of electors could change the results of an election. Bradley, did the judge get it right or wrong in saying, hey, you can go vote for who you want to vote for?
As a strictly legal matter, yes, the judge absolutely got this right. The analysis, both the 10th Amendment and the 12th Amendment, was very good. It's very informative. It's a lengthy opinion. I advise any law students to go read it. It very clearly lays out that the Article 2 of the Constitution gives Congress the ability, gives the state legislators the ability to designate and appoint these electors, and beyond that, they have no power. They have no control over how these individuals vote. But let's be clear, because there's a lot of concern, I know, about the idea of someone going rogue. In the modern history of the Electoral College, dating back to when we revised it in the early part of the 19th century, there has never been a tie, and there's never been some issue of a bunch of electors going rogue and swinging the election against the will of the people.
Now that they have a ruling that says they can do it, though, I don't know if that might change. Let's put up something. This is actually the Change.org petition. It went up after President Trump was declared the winner in November of 2016, but before the actual Electoral College sat down and formally cast their vote. The petition was called Make Hillary Clinton President. They said Donald Trump has not been elected president. The real election takes place December 19th when the 538 Electoral College electors cast their ballots. We are calling on conscientious electors to protect the Constitution from Donald Trump. They called him a danger to the Republic. So, John, with this now in place, what do you think are the possibilities that people actually think, I'm freed up from my legal obligation. I don't like who won the electoral votes. Maybe I like the person who won the popular vote before. There have been several splits, and they decide to make their own decision.
It's interesting. This actually brings the Electoral College closer to its original design. If you read what the founders said, what Alexander Hamilton said, the idea was to elect a college of electors who would actually use their own independent judgment to pick who they thought would be the best person in the country to become presidents, only because of sort of the rise of mass democracy, that we had this idea of you would elect electors who bound themselves to vote for one candidate or the other. But I agree with Bradley. The Constitution doesn't allow states to appoint electors and then to suddenly control them or even remove them or recall them, just the way states, which also used to pick the senators, couldn't recall senators. Once they're federal officials, they can do what they want, free of state law. So I think, yeah, you could theoretically have electors who could exercise their own judgment, but that's why I bet states are going to start putting state politicians from each party in the position of electors, so they can be counted on to keep their promise about who they'll pick.
And I think, and I don't know, but is it that elected officials can't be electors for the college? I don't know. We will double check that and I'll tweet it out. I feel like I read that today. In the meantime, we showed there in my piece Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showing a rural area out on the plains, saying like, oh, this is kind of what the Electoral College is, all these people out here. Robbie Starbuck, conservative, responding to that, "Dear AOC, do you really think middle America will appreciate you mocking their rural life and the Electoral College? It's the only thing protecting them from being controlled by you and a few far-left megacities who can't keep poop and rats off their streets." Bradley.
Yeah, I think AOC is a little off on this one. The concept with the Electoral College, it was designed to ensure there wasn't, mob rule, that those, few select massive states, major cities couldn't control it all. But having just the electoral, votes of these small areas of an Iowa, of a Utah, something like that, that's not going to win you the presidency. You still have to win the major states. You still have to win the California, the Texas, something like that. You still have to do that in order to succeed, but it ensures that they have a voice. It doesn't make it a massive voice, but it ensures they have a voice in choosing who will be the next president, and that's all it allows.
All right, we're going to watch this very closely because it's all going to be a very heated discussion next year this time, I have a feeling. Bradley and John, thanks for giving us your legal expertise.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, using